Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to Women Together Connect. My name is Antoinette and it's wonderful to see you all. I'm just doing my regular gallery view so I can see everybody and just say hello and see all of our faces together, just these radiant smiles, and so good. So good. Welcome, welcome, welcome all. It's such a joy. And it has been for weeks and the months that we've been able to come together. For those of you who are just joining for the first time, a warm welcome to you all. I just had some almonds, so I'm getting those. If you see me being funny with my mouth, that's what's happening. It's just wonderful to be all together. So I'll give a little bit of a background on what we've been doing over the last few weeks and months and what we're holding today. The conversation feels like it's been evolving. So over the last few years, we had been running what we had initially called life work and then quickly became Women Together programming. And we had been doing events and workshops to be able to share with one another and deepen a sense of connection to ourselves and to each other. So those online and in-person events were fantastic ways for us to connect across the country and around the world, and for us to really just be able to come together as women. And some of those conversations were seeded by incredible teachers, incredible leaders of women's movements and various aspects of it. And by each of us, by all of our voices coming together and sharing what is important for us and what is on our hearts and minds now. And it feels that now more than ever, it's a time for us to come together. It's a time for us to be in connection with one another and to deepen a connection within ourselves into a deeper understanding of who we are and what is our gift to offer to our communities and to our world. And whatever age and stage and life place we are, it's important that we find ways to do that and to share with one another. So it is really a important and powerful time for us to be coming together as women, and there's lots more to say on all of that. But what I will say is just a quick note that, you know, this work has stemmed from Eileen Fisher and her foundation and her desire to go beyond the clothing that she'd been designing for 30 years and share some of the practices that have worked for her. And what we've done over the last few weeks actually is share practices that have been important and crucial for some of our community members. So last week we had Deborah, who shared polyvagal theory. We've had sharing narrative and story and movement and embodiment and dance. And each of these practices is a tiny practice. It's a little thing that we can do in any part of our day. It's not something that we need to go out to a retreat center or we need to take 3 days to finally get centered and come back to ourselves. It can be in any one moment. And what we've done in Eileen Fisher is brought in, many of you have seen our little singing bowl. And it's in each conference room. Now it's at home with many of us in our own little living room conference rooms. But it's really been a way for us to just take a breath in between meetings. It's a way to land in the space together and just be aware of where we are and being in our bodies. One of our teachers and friends, Arawana Hayashi, reminds us to be in this body and the feeling of being on the earth body. And whether or not this is a women's thing, as women, we do have this ability to tap into this connection with Mother Earth and to feel into what it means to be a human being on the planet. So for just a moment, I'd like to invite us into that first tiny practice of holding the space of stillness. And the way that we'll do that is I'll just invite us into a body position that will help us do that, and then moving into the breath. So if you can get both feet flat on the ground, feel free to do that. That's a good place to start. And then just feeling a sense of relaxation and a sense of the energy moving from the roots of the earth in through the feet. And just as you inhale and exhale, maybe tuning your attention to the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. landing in the body, landing in this place. And connecting from those roots with the body, also connecting to the sky, feeling the sense of limitless possibility just above the top of the head. And as you inhale and fill the chest and the belly and the collarbones, exhaling out and down, tuning into the vertical connection, the ability of the human body to mediate the polarity of earth and sky. And for just a moment, I'll ring the chime to bring us in further to the space. And then when we complete, I will ring the chime to bring us back together. You get a chime and a little animal sound to bring us back together. So welcoming ourselves back, and just maybe tuning into the little sounds that come in, just recognizing that these disruptions are always there. And what do we need to return to the breath, return to ourselves? And now that we have that moment to return to each other, and the 150 or so of us who are already here in Zoom and in YouTube, connecting to what is possible. And today we're focusing on resetting our course. And there is quite a bit to reset around lately. Part of the reason when we started Women Together was that, we wanted to just come together and feel a sense of connection with each other. Often, as women, we start to tear each other down a little bit. We get into this mentality of, oh, there's only one seat at the table, there's only one slice of the pie, and I'm going after it. And as much as we've kind of fought for women's liberation over years and years, what we've ended up doing in small groups is kind of not really make it, we've gotten for this independent woman, and not necessarily the kind of what does it mean when women come together and gather and hold each other, and what would it actually take to lift each other up and support one another. So that was initially kind of the feeling of it. And Eileen had this, the kind of connection to the powerful energy that emerges when women do come together, and what really is possible, which is a lot of where her company had stemmed from. But that's not always the case. So oftentimes we, set a vision and we have a course, and, there's a teacher, Tunde Oyeniyan, who said recently, we looked to 2020 for vision. We came into this year hoping for Vision 2020. And what we got was a whole other level of clarity. And we may be seeing what we maybe, could have been seeing all along, but we have a whole new ability to see what's happening around us in our world. So I was incredibly touched when I heard her say that. I got chills and I felt, yeah, I'm starting to with what I know is needed now, and the clarity that I have around what I cannot unsee, and now have to act around. That's requiring me to reset my course. And that's for me personally. It's also organizationally, as we sit together, we've heard from women in our community that our experience is not all the same. And we know that, we have this cognitive understanding of that, but we also don't always get to actually sit and hold that in empathy with each other and talk to one another about, okay, what is needed then, and then act from that place. So that's really what we're here to do today, is to really reset our course. And as we start to think about that, I've seen many of us already posting in the chat here in Zoom, and I know in YouTube we can post in the comments section. So if there's what you can do just for a moment is settle into, what does resetting our course mean to you now? And if you just want to put a little thought in the chat, just to check in around, what is our intention when we talk about resetting our course? What is your intention for today? We don't have all that much time. We have an hour together, but actually we have much more than an hour together, and we will continue the conversation next week as well. So yeah, just tuning into what is really important about resetting our course. And I'll give us just a moment to type in there, and then I'll. Amazing, what's coming in. So I hope that you've gotten a few moments to just settle in and connect to that. I love this. Pamela has shared, to pay attention to my intentions. And I fully, following that, just what does it mean to actually move when we set an intention, to actually have attendance to it. I love it. I'll just read a few more. Janet, come back to the one or two really important things that keep me authentic. Our roles have been disrupted with COVID, so we need to reinvent ourselves, what we can do and what we can offer to others. Thank you, Amy, or Amy Hunter, because we also have Amy Cheng, who shared being intentional about my days and goals. Bianca, claiming my true authentic self. Hillary, making decisions and moving with intention based on the alignment of values, mission, and purpose. Also, hey, Hillary, and thanks for all you've shared with us. Francis, radical honesty, truth. Julia, searching for the new normal, and to listen and follow one's inner direction and voice. Lynn, diving deeper into personal and social responsibility. So many good ones. Nancy, there's personal resetting and the thought of the experience of women together. So this conversation today is about both. So what is the personal and what is the collective? What is needed as we move this community forward as well? Beautiful. So I really highly encourage us all to just read through some of these. Rita, set new goals, move with intention. Evie, cherishing what I have and need, what is necessary and what is not. Yeah, beautiful. From YouTube, from Ghislaine, it means self-actualization from the deepest, most authentic place. Tony, not expecting the previous normal and being open to the new normal and slowing down. Christine, recognizing and accepting that things have changed, considering deeply where I personally and communally go from here. Absolutely beautiful. So for this next moment, we're going to attempt a little word cloud so that we can see some of what we're talking about with women together specifically. So what I'd like to do is I'm just going to share my screen and invite you to think of 3 words when you think of women together. So when you think of women together, I shared some of my thoughts already, but I'd love to just seed our conversation with what we all are thinking about. It could be positive, it could be negative, it could be neutral, it doesn't matter. But when you just hear the words women together, when you think about this women together community, what and when you think about women just coming together, what are 3 words that come to mind? And I'll share my screen so that we can try this out. You're going to go to Mentimeter, which is just menti.com, and you're going to put in this code. It's 36329, and immediately it'll ask you for those 3 words, and we'll be able to see a word cloud of what pops up. So again, you can just go to what says on the screen on your own computer, menti.com, and use the code 36329 and add your own thoughts to that so that we can all see what's coming up in our community. So 3 words: wisdom, community, care. We'll let some more come in. Community is taking the lead. But we've got sisterhood, compassion, collaboration, kindness. And I have to say, this has not always been what I've associated with women together. So it feels incredibly powerful, actually, to see these words coming in. But I do see, in general, catfight as one of the words that came in. So I do recognize that we have that capacity too. So there is lifting each other up. There's power, empowerment, connection, supportive, loving, growth, collective wisdom, the feminine, dynamic, soulful, trust, warmth. So absolutely beautiful. Thank you all. So I'll stop the share now, but if you haven't put your words in yet, feel free, and we will capture that word cloud and then share with one another. So do feel free to share there. And I know that it's come in the chat a few times already, but for a moment, just want to acknowledge that John Lewis's funeral is also happening as we speak, and that we have a great many ancestors who are holding us up, and who have asked us to continue forward and to do more and do better and be strong in what we know is needed now. And John Lewis reminding us to make good trouble. And so I feel that is what we are doing. Susan just asked for us to put the word cloud again in the chat. So I will do that one more time for you to just see that. So here we go. We've got compassion coming in the center, but community, support, empowerment. So this is really just what does it take to make good trouble, I would say. And in this Women Together moment and community, what is really possible for us. So I thought we could talk about a few things, and I could just share a few data points, let's say, about what's going on in our community and our world before we go into breakout rooms and really just get the chance to connect with one another and be together in this way. And there are a few things that I want to bring up, since we are also acknowledging John Lewis. I'll start with just bringing up what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shared on the House floor this past week. And I'd really just love to call that to our attention, because it's one of the first times in my life, and I believe for many of your lifetimes as well, to see a woman on the House floor addressing the pervasive nature of misogyny and sexism, and what happens when each of us throughout our lives is faced with a moment in which someone uses a term that is not seeing us at our highest potential, that is not seeing us with the dignity that we deserve as human beings. And to have a young woman to bring in that it doesn't, one of the things that struck me that she said was that it doesn't take, I mean, this is just coming from me actually, women don't need to refer to their sons or their fathers to turn around and respect men. And what struck me is that for some reason, and I bring this up in our Women Together conversation, because as much as a lot of what we do here is about raising awareness and connecting more deeply to ourselves, part of our identity that brings us together is being a woman. And so what does it mean to be a woman? And what does it mean to be a woman in this world? Because we make this vertical connection of, standing on the earth and being connected to sky and being that mediator of that kind of polarity. But we also are mediating a reality every single day. And having a House representative call, a representative in our government in the United States, call a woman terms and names that are just unacceptable and inappropriate to the extent that I don't even want to repeat them right now, is, it's something that we deal with every single day. And something that, how do we applaud someone who speaks up for that? But how do we also deal with that in our daily lives? How do we respond to what's coming at us in our world, and really, have the resilience to be able to hold our own and be able to keep coming back no matter what the world says? And, as Shweta just said, absolutely, women of color face this on a much more daily basis than many other women in our world. So the reality of what we're facing and the reality of what's being asked for us as women, I think of the wall of moms that has cropped up. So for those of you who may not have seen it, in Portland, where there is where protests have continued for months on end, a wall of moms has formed around the protesters. And what those moms have said is that it is them standing up for these people as if they were their own children. And whether or not we are mothers, as women, we know that feeling inherently in our bodies, in our beings, in our bones, of wanting to protect our own. And when we extend out that experience of who is our own, that can become much larger. It's not just my little family here. It's not just my little bubble. It becomes much, much larger for humanity as a whole. And one of the women I read who started the Wall of Moms group, she expected maybe 30 or 40 in her community to show up. 3,000 showed up. And that is the power of Women Together. So it's the power of one woman coming up and saying, this is not okay. This is societally, this is not okay. And it is all of us coming together and being that wall of moms, being that group that can hold this and be in that collective and hold more than we ever thought we could. And just recognizing each other and seeing one another. I mean, Zoom feels so powerful to me because I can look at each one of your faces and I can see that there's each one of us, this brilliance, this absolute brilliance within each of us that we're holding. And we have so much to give to the world, even when we're stuck in our own little, four walls or, wherever that may be. Sometimes it's the four walls of our mind, and the ways that we hold ourselves back. And now is the time to break down those walls. Now is the time to be that wall of moms and not subject ourselves to our own walls. And I love what Sapna just shared, that motherhood is not only actually being a mom, it's this potential in all of us that we have for holding our community. So I call on that within ourselves, and I'll just invite us into a little compassion meditation or loving kindness meditation, which I'll say that I've done quite a great deal of. It's not my formal training, and I hope to bring Adriana in throughout the month of August to do some more of this kind of sitting together. But I will share what I have learned in a short meditation together, and then invite us into some journaling questions about this before we move into our breakout groups, where we will stop listening to me and really listen to each other and see what's really bubbling up in our community and in each of us. So that said, let's just come back to our seat or our stance and come back to that feet on the floor. Come back to a uplifted spine. We had Wendy Palmer come in, and she invites us to just touch the top of the head and feel the connection to sky by just giving that little uplift. And maybe for a moment, just bringing both arms out, extending. I can feel like I'm hugging each of you. Just that we're holding each other, we're holding our world, we're holding ourselves. And just inhale, filling up. Exhale. Release. You can release the arms, but feel the feeling of being in that connection together. Just following the breath for a few moments. And as you follow the breath, perhaps sending a message to first yourself. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free. And any other message that you may need to share with yourself now. May I be. And for just a moment, picturing someone who needs it now, someone you love, you care about. And with each inhale and exhale, sending them that same sentiment and energy. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free. And any other message that you may have for them right now. And as you hold this practice, I'd like for you to invite, perhaps it's an ancestor, perhaps it's someone who holds you in loving kindness, who sees your highest potential. I'd like you to just invite for a moment their face. Maybe it's another being. And then place them standing behind your right and left shoulders and giving you the strength. And then expand your energetic reach a little further with their strength at your shoulders, with their strength at your back. And perhaps reaching to someone you are not familiar with, to the many we are not familiar with. Just extending that loving kindness out to them. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free. May you be. And perhaps to someone or people you don't have such fondness for often. And if that's a challenge, let it be a challenge, and that's okay. Just sending out to them. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you find freedom. And any other loving, kind thought that you have for them in their struggle. And following the breath, the inhale and the exhale, sending out what you can, taking what you need. And when you're ready, opening your eyes, returning to this moment, this place, this group. And if you have a journal or just paper and pen around you somewhere, we will, for a moment, just jot down some of our thoughts. And I have a few questions for us to just jot down. And maybe the first thing is to just consider, and all you need to do is put pen to paper. If you have to type, that's okay too, but pen to paper really does allow things to move through the body. So anything that just may have come up in that little meditation or the conversation that we've started to seed here together, what's bubbling up for you right now? What is coming up for you right now? And the next question is, what new realities am I facing now? Or what realities, they may not be new, what realities am I facing now? And just jot down whatever comes. And as we reset our course, what is our aspiration? What are we being called towards? That could be on a personal level, or if you feel something for the collective, for the community as a whole. That could be your community in your own place, or it could be our Women Together community. So I'll give you a chance to just write a few of those things down. Maybe you have thoughts on more than one. So what is our aspiration? What are we being called towards on an individual level and on a collective level? What is our aspiration? What is the future that's sort of tugging at us? What are we being called into now? So for those of you who have been joining us on YouTube, thank you for joining us. We are going to move into small group conversations, which for those of you in Zoom, you know that this is where the magic happens. This is where making that connection to each other, that's where we go from women alone to women together. And it's what really makes the difference in how we can show up for ourselves and for the world, because oftentimes it's about seeing and being seen. So I don't know if some of you have seen the challenge on Instagram and other social media where people have been putting black and white photos of themselves. Women have been putting black and white photos of themselves. And it's really interesting because it's this moment where I can see other women and, they're kind of bearing of who they are, and where I can be seen. And that's not as easy as we might think. Oftentimes we drop out of this call when we go into these breakout rooms. It's a little bit of like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And at the same time, that's where the magic happens of witnessing and being witnessed. So I encourage us to join in and check it out in our little breakout rooms. And the way that we'll do that is share our name and where we're coming from, and just hear one another. What's coming up for us now? What's bubbling up? And we'll just listen with full curiosity. We'll give about 15 minutes and know that this is the beginning of the conversation. But enjoy your time together, and we'll see you back here in about 15 minutes. Thanks, everybody. And for YouTube, we'll see you in the